My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast.
And we're bringing it to you live from Plague Central.
From Plague Central.
Sorry, people, I'm not going to sound the greatest.
It's the COVID edition, ladies and gentlemen. It's the COVID edition.
Look, I feel like Ned Stark in that winter is coming, but I do feel like I'm one of the White Walkers at the moment. So, for all those people without any Game of Thrones knowledge, why are you even listening to this podcast? Because it's going to be essential to this particular episode.
There's going to be a lot of it. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
No. Well, I mean, it was like Game of Thrones in the tent. There were a lot of tarts.
There were a lot of tarts. There was also a bit like Ted Lasso. Tarts everywhere. So, obviously, this is later, and obviously...
Sorry, I just got that.
You got it, well done.
I'm like, tarts everywhere. I'm like, they weren't... Oh, Jamie tart.
Yeah, well done. So, obviously, as I mentioned on social media this week, podcast is late because COVID.
Look, you could have had me podcast on Tuesday night. I don't know what I would have spoken about, but it wouldn't have been anything in this reality. That's where we're at.
Too far away from what sometimes happens anyway. So
no, but it would just be gibberish.
And
really.
the bigger problem would have been the coughing. So
yeah, that's true too.
We actually probably could have we could have tried for Tuesday night, but the coughing levels would have made the podcast absolutely
inaudible.
Impossible. Yeah, you wouldn't have been able to listen to it. Mm-hmm. Also, Kristie was asleep well before the showstopper, so that would have been really awkward for the podcast. If we get to the bit about, and here's the showstopper, and I just look over and she's asleep. That's not good.
But then, like, my snoring would have been like you could have just judged my snoring as to what it meant by responses. You know, like.
So, what do you think about Gab's pie? Oh, really? Me too. Okay, so. Let's get into it because it is winter week.
Yes.
And obviously, the pre-credits joke of them pretending they're in winter, which was really well done.
Darren purchases the new Salt Bay.
Yeah. Although again,
except not on big hunks of sexy steak, big hunks of sexy hosts.
Yeah. I was wondering, and again, they said sea salt.
Yeah.
It looked like desiccated coconut.
I know. I was a bit disappointed if it was just sea salt.
Although they do have a sponsorship with sea salt, so that could have been that Australian, the big things of Australian salt they've got.
Yeah,
just them. But
our Roman ancestors though would just be like, "Oh my God, look,
giving away the wealth,
so extravagant."
Look, we thought we were opulent in Rome.
Can I just ask, right? If you're a Roman,
yeah,
and particularly a Roman soldier, like. You can just go make your own salt. Like you can just go to the water and dry out the water from the sea salt.
And you can just dry out the water. You're making it sound like they've got racks of just water drying.
Yeah, if you're a Roman soldier, or a Roman, right? You'd be like, fuck this. It's like, say if you went to the ocean and knowing that you could just let the water dry off and money would appear. That's exactly what happens with seawater for the Romans.
To be fair, remember...
Why did they base their whole economy...
To be fair, a lot of the time...
On a product that you can get quite easily.
If you were in the Roman army, though, to be fair, a lot of the times when you'd march to the sea,
yeah,
your commander / the emperor would just stab it and then walk home.
That's just Caligula and his randomness.
Yes, but to be fair, that is one of my favourite moments in the history of Rome. Because everyone goes, he was mental. No, he wasn't going to pay to conduct a campaign over to Britain. He knew how that shit was going to go. So his answer was, stab the water, stab the water, stab the water, we win!
It does feel like he was just cynical about everything. Didn't he marry his horse at one stage?
No, there was
Nero?
a whole thing about there was
Who
Nero.
married?
But the whole point about the horse thing was it was deliberately. There was a lot of trolling that used to happen of.
Oh, that was Caligula, the general.
Caligula and Nero both had similar sort of troll things.
Mentalities.
Caligula was more of that. Nero did other weird things. In terms of his background, Nero did a lot of other really weird things.
And not playing a violin, because violins weren't invented then, were they?
And most famously, the whole going to the Olympic Games and winning all the chariot races, because every time something went wrong, everyone else pretended to fall off or pretended that they needed to fix a wheel until he was ready to get back on again. So, because they didn't want to die. But Caligula, and the whole thing with the horse, he didn't marry the horse, but he used to do things like the senators could get him to sign proclamations if they could catch him. So he'd ride around the town on the back of a chariot and make them run after him. And then the whole you can't sit down until my horse sits down.
Oh, okay.
Massive troll jobs. Anyway.
Didn't they also make a horse a general?
Yeah, well, basically, that was also, again, to talk about the incompetency of his general.
Okay, all right.
Anyway, that's got nothing to do with Winter Week. So, Felicity says...
Well, it does, because it's on the podcast now, and I'm glad you didn't do this when I was delusional.
Exactly, I'm far more sane. So Felicity said it was one of her favourite weeks. Now Laura actually did say, I don't know if this is my week. I feel like it might be my week. She taunted the Bakeoff gods.
Ooh, that was close.
But they rewarded her hubris this week.
I know. Was it... Maybe she'd made the right sacrifices, like whatever Laura did.
We'll get to that pie in the showstopper, but maybe whatever that vortex was. We'll get there.
She just summoned the right void bringers.
So, the signature 16 savoury pastries, 2 different shapes and fillings, 2.5 hours. They cut to Adam, who's wearing shorts, going, I like wearing shorts in winter. I mean, give the people what they want. And I'm here for it.
I was up in Katoomba the other week, and you could tell there was a local guy. You know, the rest of us, it's like bloody 3-4 degrees outside. There's boys wandering around in his shorts, you know, like...
Probably.
Anyway, moving along.
Darren also announced that he loves winter. Shock.
Look, this week, I could be cynical and say it was essentially a pastry week. But you know what? I don't care. I like winter food, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, but I love Darren liking winter. Like, even when Hemisphere was born in, we accept that as given.
Yeah.
Especially in Australian winter, which for you is a balmy summer.
It's just a pleasant spring.
And can we also, before we get into any of the actual what they baked, can we just all for a minute acknowledge Alona's method for drying coriander? Which
Wrapping
was very much...
towel.
And then spin it around like she's Pete Townsend in The Who.
Is that what Pete Townsend did?
The big
with coriander?
Big windmill guitar playing.
Okay.
No, you're right. Pete Townsend on stage, notorious for his coriander waving.
I thought so.
Like, nothing at all. Won't Get Fooled Again is completely played on herbs.
It's like the one kitchen gadget I would love is the lettuce spinner. No.
Go on.
Hear me out. You know the one
I will.
You can wash a lettuce and then you spin it so it dries.
Yeah.
But I can never justify the cost of it. Because it is literally there to dry a lettuce.
No.
It's like
you cannot justify the cost of a lettuce spinner. I will not allow you to justify the cost of a lettuce
spinner. But they're awesome. Like, particularly the ones...
How often do you eat lettuce?
Not as often as my bowels would let me.
Exactly, that's the issue. Do we want to encourage that? I don't think we do. So, yeah, like, Alona's coriander waving is just, it's... And how did I miss out? I used Pete Townsend. Look, she is now the new guitarist for, of course, The Herbs. I had to get it in. I haven't got that off
ever. No.
Well, because I'm not doing MasterChef anymore. So there's not much
herb
herb talk on... There's nothing for kiddies in herb talk on Bakeoff.
No.
So, Felicity. Made breakfast pastries. Now, she made chorizo palmiers, and I don't really care what the rest she was making, because there were chorizo palmiers. They were bacon and caraway danishes.
Yum.
And they were warning her about don't overdo the caraway.
Don't get carried away with the caraway.
Why did they not say it like that? Don't get carrawayed.
Carraway-rayed.
They should have done that. Gav. Now, Gav was making a pork and apple tart, and then a silver beet and feta turnover, but they weren't called, those things. They were called Gav's Party Tarts. And I'm starting to wonder, every week, Gav has something party-based.
He does.
What's a Gav party?
It's just his daily life, really. He wakes up and there's just
Welcomes the
balloons and
grommets down.
streamers.
Sees the grommets down at the beach, comes back, more balloons and streamers around the house, party poppers.
Yeah, party pies for lunch. Fairy bread for a snack.
Yeah, everything in his house has to be party-based.
You know, cheesels.
Lots of cheesels.
Lots of cheesels.
Loves a cheesel.
Yeah. Then the grandkids come over and he's got to change it all up for the modern day kids party stuff, which is just sadness
Hookers
and
and
cucumbers.
Not hookers and blow. I was going to say it's hookers and blow gluten-free, but I was going to say a cheesel's gluten-free, but blow I think is pretty gluten-free. So
would it matter after a time though?
after a while, the gluten's not your issue. At that point in time, the gluten's not your problem. Anyway, Nat then did ask him, are they party tarts or can they go to other events? And Gav's response, which was purely innocent, I promise you, was they can come wherever they like. And
look, as a party tart myself.
Let's move on. So Alona,
yes,
was making phyllo. And the reason she's making phyllo is, of course, very simple. She likes chaos, and I mean Cypriot dishes. Cypriot dishes. That's what I meant. I didn't mean chaos. I mean Cypriot dishes. Iliopeta, which are a yogurt-based pastry with black olives. And Foernes, which is halloumi inside a strudel-type phyllo.
Which is just all the things that you would love.
Really nice.
Add some chorizo to that.
Yeah, just borrow some from Felicity.
Yeah.
She even brought her own tablecloth not to upset the flow of the phyllo.
Look, I think that was smart because it's got the correct kind of texture to get that stretch on and to hold it without, good work, Felicity.
Alona. Yeah, I was terrified.
Alona. I'm just going to rename people tonight.
Yeah, remember, COVID. So,
let's blame COVID tonight because that's what the issue is.
Completely. So Sandra had a pressure cooker out. When they went on your marker set bake, Sandra pulled the pressure cooker out and I went, ooh, yeah. She's doing paprese pastry, which is asparagus, leek, and Gruyere as one filling, and the Moroccan chicken was the other filling.
Nice.
Galia. Now, Galia, basically, what I wrote down was lots of chili, lots of onion.
She's like, I like chili. Every shot of her was just her chopping chili. Yeah. And Darren and Rachel becoming more, like even Rachel.
Yeah, Rachel's going, I really like chili. And they're going,
Yep.
Make sure you balance that. She's like, I like chili. And Rachel's like, oh, I like chili too. And Galia looks at her like with a death stare like, no, I really
like chili.
She's like, I know. It's like, you don't understand, Rachel. I'm going to make you understand, Rachel. And she certainly did. Anyway, Neil says that you always want to do well at what you love, and they immediately cut to cheese.
No, they cut 2 cheese, not the cheese.
Yes. So savoury rolls with silver beet and 3 cheeses, and pear cognac with blue cheese.
Oh, speaking my language.
At which point, Natalie Tran appears and goes, is that for me? And the next shot is Neil just feeding Natalie blue cheese.
That's a great gig you got, Natalie. Yes. Kudos. I'm just so pleased for her that she goes to work and gets fed blue cheese. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Well, that's what she said.
Maybe a nice wine to pair it with. I hope she got a shot of cognac as well with it.
That would have been nice. Because she turned around and she's like, family, loved ones, who cares? Blue cheese. Reem. So Reem, as they said, liberated some recipes from her family. I like the idea that she snuck them out in the dead of night, through the boot of another car, through checkpoints. Yes. Getting him into the shed.
Yeah, close shave with that last guard.
Yep, spinach and lemon triangles, and beef with mixed spices in a parcel.
Yum.
Now, as you said, she normally didn't. They went, "Do you normally make them?" And she goes, "No, my father makes them, and then my grandmother or my mother assembles them, so I don't actually do them." And so then she was making that recipe.
for someone who just observed that, like, that's fucking phenomenal.
Well, especially, we'll mention it now, because it's only in the judging they mention it. The spinach and lemon triangles.
Yeah.
The thinness of
I
that
know.
pastry, like, it wasn't phyllo.
No.
It was normal pastry, but it was so thin.
But it looked so solid as well. Like,
Yeah.
it was, nothing was getting through.
Like, it wasn't thin pastry in terms of, they rolled that too thin. That was perfect.
Yeah.
Now, Laura opened up her bit with the barbecue pork pastry, and I stopped immediately and didn't hear another word she said.
Yeah. Nice job.
Believe it was about barbecue pork being popular at Yum-Cha.
Yes,
Yes,
certainly is.
Barbecue pork rolls and pork apple and fennel scrolls. The pork apple and fennel scrolls, fantastic. I don't really care. I am here for those barbecue pork rolls. I believe if you go to her Instagram, the recipe's up on her Instagram as well. So check that out.
You should get cooking.
Definitely should. Then we cut to Felicity, who's following the lead of fellow Western Australian and friend of the show and all over friend, Robert, where she goes, bacon is the way to everyone's heart.
It's true. Like, probably not your Jewish or Muslim friends. In that case, go with some hummus.
Yes, but everyone else lead with bacon.
Yeah.
As as Robert once famously said in the Bakeoff shed, what happened? I panicked and I threw bacon at it. Which is the right thing to do if you panic.
Yes.
If I'm in a panic and I'm out somewhere, the first thing I do is find some bacon and just lob it at people. No one cares. The first question they're asking is, where'd you get the bacon from? Adam. So Adam was making Mediterranean chicken vol au vent and potato and egg curry puffs. I was thrilled with this.
Yeah, why is that?
Well, I
Love a vol au vent.
I'm a bandit for a vol au vent.
Look, I don't dislike vol au vents. We just had them a lot growing up. And it just, you've had my mum's stroganoff, and I use that in inverted quotes.
Yes.
It was very similar, the filling that she'd use for it, and I just can't.
Yes.
And then you like to put salmon in your vol au vents.
Okay, so...
And I just can't.
So, a couple of things. So, I asked the question the other night on Twitter. And by the way, for this week, this coming week, we're going to attempt threads for the live tweeting. So, good luck with that. It's all started today. It's all very interesting. We'll work out how it works between now and Tuesday. But
I've got to work out how I can swap between my accounts, because I've set it up for my burlesque account for Insta.
Yep.
But my normal thing, you might just start seeing Venus Adored.
Venus Adored.
Tweeting very...
Threading.
Threading... very, soon about Bakeoff.
Could be fun. So
confusing the fuck out of people.
I asked the other day what the right filling for vol au vents was. Most people said chicken, which is fair. Look, I think most of us have had that experience of... The stock standard ones for me growing up were, again, salmon. Yeah. Which is you just make the salmon mornay mixture and put it in the vol au vent, put cheese on the top of it. I know, you don't have to go there. The chicken and corn ones were the other ones that I used to make a lot growing up. You right there? Are you actually dying of COVID, or are you just judging my food?
Both.
Wonderful. Look forward to it later. So...
And then I'll die of COVID and come back as a ghost and judge your food. Every time you make vol au vents, you'll hear a ghostly voice go...
I appreciate it. So,
you're welcome.
So...
I should just be anyone in the world making it.
Yeah. Chicken. I love the way you're already working out what you're going to do as a ghost, and your answer for what you're going to do as a ghost is haunt vol au vent makers.
Yes.
Like, you've got nothing better to do with your ghostly time than to haunt vol au vent makers.
Well, I'll see a lot of the world. Wherever vol au vents are made.
Wherever vol au vents are, Kristie is there.
I'm assuming I'll see a lot of France.
You get a lot of France in.
A
lot of people who like 1970s dinner parties.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of key parties.
A lot of amuse-bouches. I'll be around any event.
All the
fancy fundraisers.
All the fancy fundraisers.
All the silent auctions and art galleries.
You're going to be the busiest ghost in the afterlife.
Yeah. You are.
You're the James Brown. You're the James Brown of the afterlife. The hardest working ghost in the afterlife.
Fuck haunting an old castle or something.
Chase the vol au vents.
Why only haunt a place when you can haunt a cuisine?
Why haunt a place when you can haunt a cuisine? That's Wi-Fi, literally. Anyway, then Nat, Nat nearly sent a bunch of other people to the Shadow Realm, where she said, "You have 10 minutes to go. Times 3.
Oh, God.
You have 30 minutes."
This is not the first time Natalie has tried to kill people in the Bakeoff shed. Like, I honestly think, right, you've got a pregnant woman in there. You've got other people who are over the age of 40. Are you trying to see what you can do? Is like either prompt an early delivery
or prompting someone to help you with your Volavant quest.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone sort of put them in the oven, and then we waited, and then some of Sandra's cases didn't quite cook, and that was it. So the judging.
Yeah.
Alona, excellent job. The phyllo was done wonderfully well, very well flavoured. The olive filling was excellent in particular.
Yes.
Neil had a lovely golden look to them. The silver beet was perfectly cooked. The blue cheese tart had excellent balance of the flavours.
and Nat goes, thank you.
Sandra, slightly pale on the pastry. If baked properly, it would have been excellent. The fillings were absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
Galia, they smelt amazing. Then they said they were spicy. Then they said they were very spicy. Then Rachel Koo started coughing. Rachel actually thought the spice was hurting the other flavours a bit because you couldn't taste anything but spice.
Yeah, look, I like a spicy meatball.
Yeah.
But those meatballs are possibly too spicy.
A little bit. Caramelised onion one was much better balanced though. That was the one with the ground chili, not the full chilies.
But there's nothing worse than when you order a spicy dish at a restaurant. And particularly like being white people. And here I'm going to sound like a whinger.
Go on.
Because of all my privilege. Okay. No, but you go to a restaurant and they're very kind and they'll give you white people spicy. And like I've just taken to these days going, no, just make it spicy like you'd like it.
Yes.
Because, sometimes I might regret that. But most of the times I don't. Exactly. I want a vindaloo that burns my brain out.
Yeah, exactly. When we go and get the really good Indian that we get in one part of Miscellaneous City, we don't get the butter chicken. You get the deli butter chicken because it's really nice and spicy. It's good. Yeah. All right, Reem. The meat ones were well done.
We get the white person's dish, but spicy.
No, but the deli butter chicken is not.
I know.
So anyway, meat ones are well done. Even though they're open, even though they were open style, they weren't dry at all. Yeah. The spinach ones had a super thin pastry and were done really well. Gav, generous portions, but a bit too blonde. Was that Gav? They were talking about anyway. Pork and coriander is good, but there was no...
I think someone told me that was me when I'd had my hair dyed blonde. Generous portions, but a bit too blonde. Kind of went back to red.
The pork and coriander was good, but apparently there was no apple flavour with the pork and apple because the coriander had taken over. Poor Gav, by the way, every time they gave him feedback on the show for this episode, you got the feeling as it was going through, he was getting less and less happy with their feedback. It was like, thanks for your feedback.
They were
Thanks for your feedback.
They were killing the party.
They were ruining the party. Ain't no party like a Gav party because a Gav party gets no feedback.
They're bringing down the vibe.
It was the vibes, Your Honour. It was the vibes.
Like keep the party going.
So, Adam, they said that the curry puffs had a nice crunch and good spice. The vol au vent was buttery. And the boiled lemon that he put into the mixture, which everyone was enjoying poking, added a really nice flavour.
It did have one of those, when you see the slime videos.
It really was.
Yeah.
And then Darren gave a good tip.
ASMR lemon. That's what it should be called.
And Darren then gave a really good...
It's a fidget toy lemon.
And that Darren...
It's going to be a fidget toy that Martha Stewart will teach people to make. Now, you want an organic fidget toy for your precious little grandbabies.
And then Darren gave a really good tip, actually, about getting the vol au vents to rise by putting the rack just above.
Yeah.
And so it'll rise up and they'll all hit the rack and they'll all go to the same height. Look at this. Bakeoff. It really does work really well on teaching people how to bake.
Look, you always pick up handy little nifty tips on Bakeoff.
It's very instructional.
Yeah, if you watch it for years and
exactly. If you've studied the show,
stuff.
you know that Bakeoff spends a lot of time showing you how to bake.
Yeah.
Felicity, the chorizo palmiers were well balanced. The breakfast Danish was slightly under, but the flavours were great.
Yes.
and Laura. They were all uniform, good colour. The barbecue pork was worth a Darren deep inhale.
Ooh, now Darren is looking for his pork.
He has 2 tells.
Hollywood.
There are 2 tells.
Yeah.
Darren deep inhale. Darren licks his fingers.
Okay.
We are talking about food. I want to make that perfectly plain.
Yes.
And I'm keeping it very clean about Darren because, hi Shirley, I know you listen. So
That's his mum, by the way.
So,
We like you, Mrs. Purchase.
so let's move on.
Shouldn't call her Shirley. It's very disrespectful. My mum would be so embarrassed.
Well, your mum would be so embarrassed because she's not called Shirley. Simple.
Moving along.
Simple.
My auntie's called Shirley.
So, the technical.
She did not get along with my mum.
Oh, before that as well, I should finish off Laura's thing, which was pork and apple and fennel was well caramelised, tasty and moist. Cal also suggested the pork snail.
Yeah, and then I've gone, oh, they should call it a snork. And I'm like, oh no, that was a show.
Yes, that was the snorks. I love the snorks. Anyway.
Imagine this if the snorks were pastry based. They just disintegrate in the salt water. But you know what they could have done? Become rich Romans.
Oh, God. Anyway, the technical.
I snorted. Keep going.
This technical is a Rachel Koo technical.
Ooh.
Her comment. Rest up.
Yes.
Be tender. Everything looks better in uniform. And then they were off to build a safe and warming fire in Darren's dressing room. So the carrot and cumin tart, wholemeal spelt pastry, cumin, caramelised onion, goat cheese, and glazed carrots. Or as Natalie Tran called it, the hottest tart we can show you in this time slot.
I know, and I wasn't available at the time either.
2 hours to do it. So,
that's what she said.
They were also topped with heirloom carrots in a honey glaze. So, I think we also need to discuss, just after I said we're not going to discuss Darren and all the little foibles, his winter warming face. Did it a few times.
Yeah.
Darren, it's very R-rated. Can we maybe dial that back?
Well, he likes winter. A lot.
A lot, it turns out. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Shirley. But winter is coming.
We're totally going to call this. No.
Moving right along.
Then they said you need to rest the pastry to firm the butter and relax the gluten, which does sound like medical advice. It sounds like something I got when I rang up and went, look, COVID again. And they're like, look, what we need you to do is we need you to rest, to firm the butter and relax the gluten. You know, that's what we're after for you.
Yeah, and I'm glad that worked out. And
we then got a bunch of onion tears.
Whoa.
Onion tears. So
now I've got some tips.
Go
right?
on. Kristie's
now,
tips.
Now you can't avoid it at times when you've got very juicy onions. Like you can't avoid it, but you can reduce it by not cutting off the roots until you've finished. So chop up your onion, like slice it and shit, but keep the roots on until you've finished, and that will reduce.
Do you have any more tips on how to do onions without crying?
No, I could tell you how to get rid of the smell from that and garlic.
You can.
Rub your fingers on metal,
yeah,
like stainless steel.
I usually look like I'm giving a hand job to a tap.
Yes, like just give the tap a nice little rub and tug.
Yep. Make the tap very happy.
And that'll get rid of your onion and garlic smell.
No, but I was going to say the other way I did it the other day was I food processed on my onion, but no, that bruises the onion really badly and you bawl.
Well, don't do that. Just
I needed
chop
to chop
it.
I know, I needed to dice onion really finely and I wasn't going to do it by hand for that long, so I literally just put it through the processor.
Oh, you'll never be Julia Child.
You know who else will never be Julia Child?
Who?
Sandra. You know why?
Why?
Pinch of saffron.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Sandra.
Somebody wasn't paying for the saffron. I think we know. She also found the little bit of gold leaf left over in the showstopper, and she's like, I'm going to put a bit of gold here. And I'm like, somewhat that Natalie left it behind?
What?
Like, I thought she took all that shit with her. So we then cut to Neil, who basically sums up, I think, the ethos of the show.
Yes.
Who doesn't love a good tart? I mean, I love tarts. Don't you love tarts?
Oh, yeah.
And then that was followed by a Neil chuckle as he realised he was saying funnies. I love Neil.
A double entendre.
Neil had an amazing...
An English French person would say.
Neil had an amazingly good episode for a bunch of reasons. This was one of his highlights. I've more and more every week I've enjoyed it when Deadpan Neil starts making funnies.
Yeah.
It gets really fucking hilarious really fast. It's just like the way when I've talked before about, when I mentioned before about when he said about doing what you love to do, and he was talking about making making the pastries, and he's like, I love making pastry, and it was so deadpan, and you're like, that is absolutely hilarious.
Okay, so I tried to, maybe I'm spelling it wrong.
No, that's how you spell it. I can see it.
Okay, because I just wanted to find out, why did the English say double entendre, right?
Yeah.
And without saying like double in French. Like, why not make the whole... I mean, it is the English and we do mix up all the things.
No, they do. They say double because they're idiots.
Double entendre. But when you put into Google Translate double entendre from French to English...
Does it give you one? Ching. Anyway, moving on.
It says double sens. So what does entendre mean?
Anyway, let's move on. Let's not get stuck on the word entendre. So...
Why not? Okay, yes.
It's like at home when you peel the carrots and gossip. My question was, is that a thing? Who stands around a kitchen peeling carrots and gossiping? Apparently Reem.
People in cults, I assume.
It does feel very cultish, doesn't it?
You know, like if you're in a cult or a commune, maybe like the Amish, you know, like you have to live a very, particularly the Amish, a very like straightforward life. So I think that the peeling of the carrots, they'd use a lot of like double speak. You know, like
possibly.
That's quite a big carrot you've got there, Johanna.
You mean like later on when Reem held one up and went, oh look, that's nice and limp.
Yes.
Daintily it. So
is that like Joseph's?
So everyone was blind baking their spelt cases. Except Galia. Who was still working the pastry. Then we got
I'm really interested. I wonder if she had to get rid of her pastry. Like, did they not show?
No,
why she was so far behind?
Well, she said later on that when she tried to transfer it, one side was too short, so she then started cutting it and remolding it to make it fit again. And that
okay, and that's why she was running behind, right?
So the 1 hour time call is an all timer. Natalie Tran, ladies and gentlemen, Natalie Tran. Bakers, I'm going to tell you what I tell my lovers when they think they're done. You're only halfway.
And who was it that came up with the follow-up? I'm like, I think that's what the lovers say back to her.
Whoever it was. But then Sandra turned around and went, and I missed the actual time call.
Yes, she did. And I think someone said, someone said something along the lines of, hurry up, girl, hurry up. I think it was like that. Oh, hurry up, lady, hurry up. Someone said something along those lines. And I'm like, is that what the lovers say back to her?
That's the response. So everyone is now bringing their blind baked tarts out.
Yes.
Except for Galia, who still isn't in. Gavs has decided to separate itself from itself and is falling apart all over the place, but he was slowly piecing it back together and going, I'm hoping a bit of butter will help this. Then we got some time pressure, and we got the first example, I think, of Reem under any form of pressure in this series. Because Reem looks at the camera and he puts the carrots on top and goes, it looks cute, and then gets very serious. She goes, but I need to get it in right now. And just turns around and is like, I don't have time for this. I'm like, ooh, that's the first time we've seen that.
Yes.
Adam looks at his and goes, it looks tartish, which is a descriptor.
Yes.
Definitely a descriptor. 15 minutes to go, Galia is still putting hers together.
Yes.
She then throws it in the oven, whacks the temperature up on high and goes, don't think that's going to work. I'm also worried about getting it out of the pan, so I think I'm going to have to take it out and put it in the freezer at the end.
Oh.
And you work out the temperature differences, by the way, that would have had minimal effect. Because she literally pulled it out with a minute to go, ran to the freezer, and then was in the freezer with a minute to go.
Yeah.
And then pulled it out of the casing with 10 seconds to go. So in reality, it had 50 seconds in a freezer?
If that.
Which is not going to pull the temperature down significantly.
No.
Laura said that she promised her family she wasn't going to do the stereotypical fanning on Bakeoff. They cut over to someone else, and they cut back, and there's Laura with a tea towel. Wasn't the baking sheet, though.
No.
Everyone I know who's ever been in there says, I'm not going to fan, and then the time pressure hits.
Which is quite funny because, like, before, you know, they've mentioned to Laura in the signature that her family would, like, her father would be very proud of her signature pork rolls. Remember that part?
No, it was Rena talking about father would be very proud. She's talking about her father loves the pork rolls.
Oh, okay. Yes, okay, sorry. COVID brain.
Anyway.
But now I'm thinking, I was just going to then go, now Laura's father's very disappointed.
Well, I mean, he would have been happy about the pork rolls.
Yes, I reckon he too would be proud of those pork rolls.
Gav's bodge job on his shell worked.
Yep.
And then he sort of moved it around again and broke it a second time.
Oh.
Galia took it out with a minute to go, put it in the freezer. Then it's the first time I've actually seen someone finish a bake in a freezer. And remember, we have a Bomb Alaska challenge that's happened.
That's true. Yeah, but you got to torch the Bomb Alaska.
Yeah, I've never seen anyone... And it was great. It looked like she was robbing a safe.
It did. Like she'd just been caught by the popo.
When they went 3, 2, 1, and she looks at the cat, like, holds her arms up, like, sorry. Don't shoot me. But it was... Yeah, it was sort of... The other thing I want to mention just quickly before I get to the judging was the trimming of this with the parsley, which made it look like one of those butcher's displays. You know, when you go and look at all your meat at the butcher and, like, they've got parsley around it for no fucking reason whatsoever.
You could have pulled out Rachel's tart and just displayed a nice, you know, selection of chops.
Nice couple of chops.
Yep.
Bit of parsley. It was great. I loved...
You could have put some chops on it, cling wrapped it, whacked it down the pub for the meat tray raffle.
Just run it around with the camera crew afterwards and make your own raffle.
Yeah.
All right. The judgment.
Yes.
Reem. Nice shine on the top. The pastry was very crispy and flaky. The spice was good. And the goat's cheese curd was really good too. Felicity, the carrots were uniform. It was very well cooked and it was neat. Gav, the pastry had some issues. The carrots were cooked at a higher heat, so they were both over and undercooked.
Oh, but you even it out. They're cooked.
Exactly. Laura, they were vibrant, neat presentation, wonderful flavours. Adam, the pastry looked even. The carrot needed a little bit more time, however. Galia's curd hadn't set. Very underbaked. Good cumin. They said it actually would have been great if it was baked at the time. They said it was all going well apart from that. Neil, the glaze looked fantastic. Great flavour. One of the best pastries. Sandra was very orange. As they said, somebody really liked their saffron. The answer was, Sandra, this is my pinch.
Look, it was the only way is Essex.
It was.
Style of tart. Just, you know, because their tarts were very orange.
Excellent pastry, but could have
People in the mid-2000s are laughing hard at that.
But could have filled the top a bit more. And then they go, now we're up to the last tart. And Cal goes, well, thank you very much. Alona, carrots were tender, but needed more of the filling inside. So you had Galia, Gav, Sandra, Adam, Felicity, Alona, Neil, Laura, and Reem wins the technical.
Nice work, Reem.
Gets us to the showstopper.
Killing it. Yes.
The showstopper is a decorated family tart with 3D art. Any pastry, it can be savoury or sweet.
Yep.
And that gives you a lovely pie joke about 3.14. Yeah. 4.5 hours. I referred to the first part of this challenge as Lurpak's time to shine. Because we got a bunch of shots of people chopping up Lurpak, opening Lurpak, moving Lurpak, just looking at Lurpak in a loving manner. Then we got corner talk.
I'm still not down with this. I really hope next season they move back to the table.
It's really awkward.
Yeah.
I liked it initially, but it's become really awkward. And I know they're trying to break it up with the what do you think they're talking about.
That was a cool call. With
that one was good, but that's not working for me. The other thing that wasn't working for me was when they said the Who's in Trouble.
Oh,
they did
you were
the
not
first two,
happy.
and then they went and Felicity. And Rachel Koo says, you know, she's done well, but Felicity just struggles sometimes with the execution. I count up to this point once, and it was in the first challenge where one of her pastries was slightly under. I went back. I went through all of the judging notes for every other episode. I went through all the technicals, where her lowest finish to this point was 4th in a technical, and every bit of feedback was brilliant.
Yeah, I didn't, from my very messed up memory, couldn't think of anything that stood out in terms of Felicity.
Yeah.
That would correspond with that comment.
Now,
it did seem quite strange.
I get that they needed to sell the fact that, you know, she had a slightly underbaked thing, and that's fine, but say that. Because the way it was insinuated was she just struggles sometimes with the execution. Once in this episode. Don't feed us bullshit. Right? Just say, she had a pastry that was underbaked in the first one. It's been a tight week. She had a pastry that was slightly underbaked at the start. She really needs to make sure she doesn't have any more slip-ups. Simple.
Exactly.
I just didn't like the way that was phrased because it made it sound like there's been problems across the series. There hasn't been.
Exactly. This whole episode, everyone was fairly consistent.
Yep.
You know, there was no major...
We have no issue with we have no issue with the judgment.
The call. No. It
100% right, but you didn't need to
have that.
That line's not good.
The true reflection of this particular episode is it was one of those weeks where everyone was solid. There were people who like I couldn't tell if it was going to be Reem, Neil, or Laura that would be Star Baker. And even then, there was no one that was clearly not doing well. Like Galia, for example, you know, her technical, she was behind, but her signature.
Her first two weren't brilliant.
No, but
the showstopper was incredible,
and it was gorgeous. And I know we're jumping around and stuff, but this is really one of those weeks where it was. Someone had to go home.
Yeah, we say it all the time. You want to go home in a week where small things. Like, and even with her pastry collapsing, and we'll get to it, she still got a pie out there, and the pie was still perfectly fine.
It just wasn't. And, like, I guess it also came down to, you know, everyone else got theirs out independently. And that's not I think it was beautiful that so many people went to help because this is the time the show's about, except the technical. That's when we'll kick your ass.
And thank you for not doing that, by the way.
Yeah. But
yeah, it's just
we just get it. We get it. You know, like the call wasn't bad. It was the storytelling that was not as refined.
I'd actually rather see Cornfeld die a death, but that's just me. Laura. So Laura was doing an activated charcoal pie crust, with marshmallow top, pear and chai filling winter in Oslo. Now, activated charcoal.
Yes.
Slight issue.
Look, it's fine as long as you don't have medications.
Heart medications.
Yeah. Well, it's used to help people with overdoses and stuff. I think it has to be in higher quantities, but you still need to be careful with it.
Look, if I saw that pie and started wolfing it down.
Oh, look,
That's a high quantity.
Yeah. But not everyone's going to have a whole pie of activated charcoal to themselves. So I think it's okay.
They don't know what they're missing out on.
Yeah.
All right. Felicity. So she had 2 pastry batches in the fridge, apple and rhubarb filling, and a koi pond decoration.
Here's your problem, Felicity. Michael Scott fell in your koi pond.
Yeah, Michael Scott fell in the koi pond. It wasn't the butter. It was Michael Scott straight into the koi pond.
And you could possibly blame Jim for this because he did step back. He could have stopped him. He could have grabbed him. But he stepped back.
Jim Halpert could have saved your pie. Anyway. Now, she also said it's strategically more sensible to do sweet.
Everyone who are Office fans are laughing. Now, everyone who's not is clearly confused.
Yes. So she said that it was strategically more sensible to do sweet. And her argument was it's easier to get flavour into a sweet pie in time than it is to get flavour into a savoury pie in time. Because you usually have to slow cook a savoury pie. I don't 100% agree with that. I do agree it's easier, but I think you can still get really good flavours into a savoury pie over, and you had 4.5 hours. Well, so it wasn't like you had to do it over like a year.
Well, if you look at say what Gav did, the fish pie.
Yeah.
You get a lot of flavour in that. It doesn't need as long a cook time because you're using seafood, which, shorter cook time. You could do a vegetarian style savoury pie, which you could load with lots
Lentils
of herbs
and
stuff and spices and that kind of thing.
You can still get it with things like, but you can still also get it in the method you cook it in. So if you cook the filling, like for example, Sandra in the first challenge where she did the Moroccan chicken in
pressure cooker,
like you could do something like that quite easily. But like you don't need to do 4.5 hours to get that baked in flavour. I do get what she's saying.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's me. I probably still would have done a savoury pie because it's me, and that's just what I do.
Yeah. But hurry up and get to Gav's because I've got a suggestion for Gav.
Okay, Gav. Funny you should say that because here's Gav.
Oh, excellent.
So prawns and scallops in bechamel. He's doing a fishy pie with a fish and seaweed decoration on top. Now, I'll just finish this bit and then you can go nuts.
Okay.
So they warn him about the seafood possibly being over and also remind him the pie lid would shrink. Now, I looked at this and thought, Ben Ebrel from Sorted Food, if you're watching this, and go, oh, it's a fish pie.
And also talking about sorted foods, that's where we learned about stargazy pie, which is from a very specific, I think it's like a Cornish region or a region in Cornwall, where they stick like the prawn heads and tails sticking out of the pie.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh my God, Gav, next time.
Stargazy pie, it's the fish tails.
Yeah, the fish tails, all sticking out. But you could do it like with massive prawns and do it like a Beetlejuice stargazy pie, where you have the hands with the prawns coming out.
Well, on Sorted, Jamie then did the one later on.
That's right,
where
with
he
the
did
massive prawn.
Massive prawns climbing out of it like it was some form of alien springing forth.
But just, one that can be puppeted. So people say, don't play with your food. I'm like, why not?
And again, if anyone has watched the Sorted Food videos, my little joke that I made to myself was that Gav was making a fish pie, but what he originally wanted to make was chicken wings. And he got distracted. So if anyone's watched Sorted, they are laughing really hard right now. Otherwise, no one got it. No one gets it. Anyway.
But if you don't, go watch Sorted Food. It's great.
It's fantastic. Yeah. So, Alona. Spicy chickpea and chard. The decoration is the miscellaneous City Opera House, which was a lovely touch, I thought.
Yeah, it's nice when you see your miscellaneous city represented.
There's not enough of it. There's not enough of it.
No. It's always all Adelaide.
Then we get Bernard talk. And Bernard talk was all about the fact that Bernard doesn't like other cats. But that's okay, because Cal brings us
Pirate and Barnacle.
I love the fact that they're Pirate and Barnacle.
Which you're going to have to speak in a Cornish accent for.
They are unbelievably adorable too.
Oh, and now Gav needs to make them little fishy pies.
Yes.
For the kitties.
That has to happen.
Because, everyone talks about baking dog treats. Why is no one baking cat treats?
It's called the cat comes along and steals whatever's left.
No,
The other day when I made salmon rissoles, who got the leftovers?
Not me.
No,
because
the cats,
I didn't like
you don't
cats.
want it.
Yeah.
The cats ate it. Then Felicity puts her thing in and goes, now the worst thing that could happen with my pie is the butter coming out while baking. As they cut to a shot of the oven with the butter dripping out of it while baking.
Oh, that was just Felicity. Heartbreaking.
So she foretold the downfall of her own pastry. Now Reem wasn't blind baking. She was the only one who wasn't blind baking. Instead, she was using the freezer.
Was she hoisted by her own petard?
Oh, well done. Well played.
Even though it's a pie. Okay.
Well done. Anyway, Reem was using the freezer instead, and her idea was that she was going to avoid the soggy bottom by putting it in the freezer and then minimising the liquid that was in her pie. Now, that didn't work.
No, unfortunately it didn't.
And that's because, we'll get to it in a minute, the greatest piece of criticism I've ever heard in the history of Bakeoff happened in this episode, and I'm here for it. So we'll come back to it in a minute. But it's also the first mention of soggy bottom in years.
I know.
Because, Matt and Maggie didn't really mention it in their last couple either. It's been, basically, Mary Berry was the last time we heard it.
I think it's because we've got two British people. Well, Darren's really Aussie. He's as Aussie as Sandra is anyway.
Sandra's very Aussie.
Yeah, Sandra's the Aussiest in
Hi,
the
Sandra. I
tent.
hope you're enjoying the listen.
I think, coming from the British Bake Off, you've been dying for a moment to use the soggy bottom, line.
You've been visualising it the whole time. So,
if only for their parents' sake. If only for Shirley to go, that's my Darren.
So,
seeing the soggy bottom line.
So ginger, caramel and pear.
Every parent dreams of their child talking about soggy bottoms.
So ginger caramel and pear
Not soggy
was the flavour
Sayyos.
for Reem. Then we got Laura's pie shell came out of the oven. And it looked like a hole to another dimension.
Yeah.
In the best possible way.
Yeah, I was waiting for, like, you know, the Starship Enterprise to be, like, cruising close to it. And, like, you know, Scotty, we've got to beef up the engine. Like, can I do it, Captain? I didn't have the power. Like, they're just getting sucked in to this black hole of a pie.
At this point, we cut to the newest show inside the shed.
Then they land on a delicious, delicious planet where Captain Kirk seduces the local tart. See what I did there?
I did. So we then cut to the latest show inside the shed, which is Neil. Now what's that? So, and by
Obviously,
the way...
Cal and Nat were on a tea break.
So, Neil goes over to Laura's bench. We spent a lot of time there. What's in there? And she's running through it. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's nice. Then we cut to the shot of Adam's bench. And Neil's just there again. What's in that pie?
Going on?
How's that going?
Obviously, you know, he liked a bit of voyeurism with the tart before in the previous thing. He's not here for the pie.
I am living for Neil's love of going around and seeing what the other bakers are doing. I'm completely here for it. It is 100% brilliant. Laura was making chai marshmallow, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to once again thank her for not falling for Matcha's curse.
I think matcha would be pretty shithouse in a pie, though. I mean, it's pretty shithouse in most things.
They'd probably do it, yeah. And again, in a pie, just don't limit yourself.
Don't.
Galia was making a shortbread dough for the top of her pie. So her pie was rhubarb and strawberry with mascarpone. We got a lot of rhubarb in this episode.
Possibly in season.
I'm assuming so. Sandra was making...
Because Silverbeet was also very featured, and that's possibly also in season.
Sandra was making a gingerbread bunny and a fir tree with a frangipane and blackberry filling with crushed almond snowstorms going on.
Like, that is just Germany, isn't it? Like, that's like, you've got the blackberries, you've got the gingerbread.
I'd like to think why she was crushing up the
fir
almonds.
trees. Yeah.
I'd like to think while she was crushing up the almonds, it was snowstorm.
Oh,
it's sandstorm by Darude, but you know.
Snowstorm. Okay. I'm so slow.
Neil then turns around and tells everyone that art is not his strong suit while he's clearly decorating a stunningly beautiful pie.
You should see him, though, when he's like fuck art, mathematics, right? He's like where he's genius. He's okay. And this is his level of okay.
Brilliant.
His level of mathematics, though, is like, you know...
insane.
What's that Russell Crowe movie?
A Beautiful Mind?
Yeah. She's just a beautiful mind.
Adam...
It's like, you know that kid at school who's good at everything and they're like, oh... I've done okay at this, and it's like fucking better than you could produce if given 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
So, Adam.
Yes.
Adam is a sci-fi nerd.
Can I just over-explain? Oh, good. Go, Adam. No. I was talking about ADHD stuff, and I'm already a conversation backwards. So let's get back to Adam.
Now, we got a discussion about whether aliens were a thing or not, and not something I ever anticipated tuning into Bakeoff for.
I know, you always laugh at people who say they've had alien encounters.
They know what they saw, and that's true.
I've seen enough ghosts. I have seen things in the sky that I can't explain, but I'm not an astrophysicist or a meteorological expert. But I'm sure I've seen some things that couldn't be explained. But there are people in our lives who know what they saw. Anyway, back at the ranch.
And also, Nat made a very bad joke, which I'm not going to repeat. It was that bad. But what I am going to say is, I did like her follow-up of, it's so nice that you laugh when there are cameras. Now, I really want to sort of stop here for a minute too, just to acknowledge the fact that Galia took her pie out of the oven, looked at it, and you can just see this moment of her going, it worked.
She'd been working on her time management, and I'm really glad she has
nailed
been.
It. Like she's had, look, we said it last week, her time management hasn't been good.
No.
The first 2 challenges tonight, her time management wasn't good.
Look, as someone with ADHD and time blindness that can kick in, you've just got to put in your stuff, like your supports. Otherwise, it will be 6 hours later and you'll realise that you still haven't got out of bed yet. even though your alarm went off.
True. So Felicity gets her second pastry out, which works. And then Neil comes running over for the first time. Can I help with anything? And what I loved was she stopped, she looked, and didn't go, yeah, blah, blah. She just looked at him and went, 3 flowers, 2 fish, and a couple of lily pond leaves. And he just went, okay.
Yeah.
And just started.
Effective communication.
Then we got a weird cutaway, which was Reem looking at her oven, opening her oven, and closing her oven. And it took less than about 2 seconds. The whole point of this was to show the Smeg logo at the bottom.
Look, I'm here for it. We've got to get the sponsors up.
We do, but I like pointing it out.
Yeah.
Now then, everyone's encouraging Felicity. Everyone's coming past. Neil comes past the bench again. Everyone's like, you've got this. Laura's being very Laura about it, encouraging. We come back to Science Sandra. And Science Sandra is once again back. By the way, if you're not following her on Instagram, her Instagram reels are amazingly good. Go and follow Sandra. Science Sandra is back, this time to discuss the fact that snowflakes look different under microscopes, while she was hand making her snowflakes.
Oh my gosh, though it was fucking gorgeous.
Her science show needs to happen.
Yeah.
No, remember, it's just called Boom, That's Science.
And it's okay. So we need like a bit of a Better Homes and Gardens show, but it's Better Science and What's That show. And
getting so much science all the time.
And you don't open up like on a NAF studio lounge room. You open up in a NAF studio Bakeoff shed.
And just Neil walks over to Sandra and goes, what's that?
Yes.
And Sandra gives you a scientific description and goes, boom, that's science.
And then, we get, and then we have a kiddies corner, and that's when you get last year's
Ella
Ella popping in.
This could work quite well.
Exactly. And
then a fitness corner, and then you're going to have Laura doing yoga.
Yes.
And Adam doing CrossFit for some ungodly reason.
CrossFit science fiction. Cross fiction. Science cross fiction. Oh my God. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, bringing you the latest UFO news while you're doing your Kegels. Oh no, hold on. Your kettlebells.
Different thing. Very different thing.
Can men even do Kegels? They can't, can they?
I believe they can.
Okay.
I believe they actually can. Anyway, moving on.
Laura can tell us, I'm sure.
Because Laura took a blowtorch to Marshmallow at this point.
Yes.
Yeah, which obviously, this is the best bit. Starts it. And again, if you've watched Sorted Food, that's not a blowtorch. There's the sous vide gun that they use, and the one that Kush walks around with, the head of food walks around with. They are blowtorches. Neil, even while he's finishing up, he goes, look, this is good. I'm not going to take it out yet. It's still too warm. And he looks around and he goes, I want to go check on Felicity and see how she's going again. So even at the end, while everyone's getting ready to play up, Neil's just like, I want to go make sure that Felicity's okay. I want to make sure that she's getting her stuff plated up. I absolutely loved that. Neil was so cool there.
Yeah.
Then Adam and Laura.
But does that mean he was finished?
No, because they showed at the end. So what happened was he went over and checked. Then Adam and Laura went over.
Yeah.
And then Adam and Laura, who were finished, did the painting. So the 3 of them were painting colours.
Right. Yeah.
At this point, they cut back to Sandra, who found the leftover gold that Nat left. And then they cut back to Neil at the end, getting his pie out as they went 5, 4, 3, and Neil gets his pie out, looks at the camera and goes, arms in the air.
Wow.
So the thing to celebrate here is, again, in life, because Laura was over at the bench, and Adam was over at the bench, and Neil had been there. So in life, I've said it before, be a Laura, or a Neil, or an Adam, or kind of really any of them, but
Yeah.
it was just so supportive.
Be a combination
and so
of all 3. Be Mecha Adam Neela. Yeah.
COVID. So, judging.
We'll blame COVID.
So, Adam, they said it looked fun. The pastry had a lovely buttery crispness. Very nice tartness in the flavour. The proportions of the chunks to the filling was out of whack, though, and they said you needed more. They said that Gav's scallops were perfectly cooked. The pastry felt a little dry. Now, Gav had also said, by the way, that the blue was going to bake in nicely and you wouldn't get any blue running. And they cut into the pie, and immediately when they did the cross-section, you could see that some of the seafood was now dyed blue.
Yep.
But, look, Perfectly edible.
Don't Google this on a work computer. But all I had when Rachel was talking about a blue mouth and we were talking about a blue pie is that old meme, blue waffle.
And we're not going to explain that one. We're going to move on.
No, we're not. And you're not going to Google that on your work computer.
Do not.
It is NSFW.
So, Galia. They
Very
said it
much
looked
so.
awesome. The filling was really nice. Mascarpone balanced with the flavours very well. Ream, the braiding was awesome. They said it was a great job. However, your pears are just too juicy. That is the greatest criticism the world has ever seen.
Oh, my pears, they're too juicy.
So, Sandra, they loved the design. The pastry was absolutely divine. Crisp and buttery. The fruit had a lovely tartness.
Yeah.
Alona, the design was good, aromatic. The pastry was really flaky and it was very well made. Mm-hmm. Laura, very inventive and original. Darren absolutely loved it. The fruit was well cooked, the marshmallow was well done, and the chai was the right level.
Yeah.
Felicity, they loved the balance of flavours. They were impressed that she didn't give up.
Yeah.
But they said the decorations, unfortunately, because of the time, were a bit more basic.
Yeah.
Neil, beautiful looking pie. And they go, what is it? And he goes, it's a blueberry apple pie. And he stops, and there's a massive pause. And Darren waits for a minute and goes, okay.
But if you look in the background, Sandra has just face palmed and shook her head. It is epic.
Everyone burst into hysteria. Like Neil's looking at him like, what fucking more do you want me to say? It's a blueberry apple pie.
I am pretty sure if I did Neil's astrological chart, he'd be a triple Taurus. That's just the
Taurus,
kind of vibe I'm getting. Yeah.
Anyway, the filling was juicy and delicious. The pastry was perfect, and the design was super creative. Mm-hmm. The Star Baker. A couple of people could have come close. Neil could have come close.
Reem could have come close. But she had the problem with the bottom that's
at
right.
the end.
So
Laura, a very deserved Star Baker. And look,
Yep.
she's been around it the whole time, so that's really well done.
She's been in Star Baker orbit.
Unfortunately, Felicity, who has been in Star Baker orbit the whole time, finds herself going home as a result of, again, and it's just that simple. One bake doesn't go very well. And
it wasn't even a complete disaster. Like, this whole episode has just been solid baking by everyone.
I'm going to say straight up, this episode was better for me than last week. I wasn't a fan of Bread Week.
No, Bread Week.
I thought this was a really good bounce back.
Yeah, it was. Everyone was solid. I feel like everyone had found their groove. I was really happy to see Galia finding her groove and seeing that beautiful pie at the end. Like, that was just so adorable.
Look, that was one of the things I was happiest about was she did that pie and it was just
Yes.
I like it. I like seeing bakers who have struggled a little bit go, no, I can do this, and doing it.
Yeah, and it's it's sad, but I'm hoping we get to chat to Felicity. That would be nice.
Hoping we get to chat to Felicity?
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain we can make that happen.
We'll give that a bill.
So anyway, that's going to do us because, as you can hear from our coughing, slowly dying, especially me. I'm slowly dying. So thank you everyone for sticking with us through the whole COVID thing and the delay of the podcast. If you like the podcast, please reshare it. Liking it is fantastic. Commenting on it is really good. Resharing it really helps us out.
It does.
So on whatever form of social media you want to use, you can ask us if you want. We'll give you the link to share it around. So please reshare it. Helps us out a lot. Until next time, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
And we will catch you all later.
Whoa!